Memphis rapper C Money from the Fast Cash Boys duo was shot just after midnight on Sunday.
A strong message from the ATF after 21 people are indicted for being part of Cherry Hill's Hillside Enterprise, a drug distribution operation which operated for more than 14 years.
NYPD just released video of two men wanted for shooting two people in Brooklyn. Video shows a man in a white T-shirt pacing near the Brownsville houses on Stone Avenue.
A mass shooting in Washington Park on the south side.
4 people were shot and taken to area hospitals, but we are hearing there could be more than a dozen victims. An exact number has not yet been confirmed.
Detectives are investigating a double shooting in North St. Louis. 2 men were shot on Hiller Place in the Walnut Park West.
Urban violent crime in the U.S. is overwhelmingly concentrated in just a handful of neighborhoods. While national crime rates have declined in recent years, areas marked by chronic poverty and disinvestment continue to experience extraordinarily high levels of homicide and assault. Take Baltimore, for example, known as Charm City, which recorded 4,653 violent crimes in 2022, averaging about 8 victims per 1,000 residents. Memphis, meanwhile, posted the nation's highest large city deletion rate in 2023, with 397 deletions, 63 per 100,000 people. In both cases, a relatively small number of neighborhoods drive these staggering statistics.
At least 4 people were shot and taken to area hospitals, but we are hearing there could be more than a dozen victims. Multiple scenes in and around Washington Park and a massive police presence. When we arrived there earlier this evening, police say at the time of the shooting, a game was taking place on the baseball field. We saw officers using flashlights there to look for evidence, and in one taped off area in particular, they were focusing their attention on a vehicle in the grass. Fire officials say that of the 4 people they can confirm were shot, 3 of them were taken to the hospital in critical condition. 1 person is in fair condition.
Now, video from late Tuesday shows Chicago police seen near baseball fields looking for evidence. This is 51st and King Drive. Now, police say 2 groups were arguing right before the violence started. The park crowded. We now know a 43-year-old man and a 20-year-old man have both died at UChicago Medicine.
Breaking news reports of 4 people shot in Washington Park near 57th and Cottage Grove. Possibly 2 of the victims are kids.
On Chicago's south side lies Washington Park, a predominantly black neighborhood burdened by decades of poverty, disinvestment, and violence. Once envisioned as a thriving community surrounding the large public park that gives it its name, the area instead became a symbol of urban neglect as businesses closed, jobs disappeared, and poverty rates soared. Today, the numbers are staggering. According to the Chicago Police Department, Washington Park's violent crime rate is nearly 7 times higher than the national average. Each year, the neighborhood endures dozens of shootings and deletions, placing it among the city's deadliest communities. More than half of its residents live below the poverty line, while abandoned buildings and shuttered storefronts reflect years of economic decline. Gang turf wars erupt frequently across its streets, fueling cycles of bloodshed. By 2022, city data confirmed that Washington Park's deletion total ranked among the highest in Chicago, underscoring the crushing weight of poverty and violence that continues to define daily life for its residents.
Call to the 5000 block of Thrush. This was around 12:45 this afternoon for that shooting. A 23-year-old man was injured at the scene and had to go to Barnes Jewish Hospital. That's where he died. A toddler was cut by glass, but only had minor injuries. Police believe this was an isolated incident. They believe the suspect took off right after the shooting.
St. Louis is dead after being shot and killed late Christmas Eve night at the corner of Mimica and Lillian. This is near Goodfellow and I-70. Police responded to the scene a little after 10 p.m. in the Walnut Park West neighborhood and found that man shot to death.
Developing tonight, homicide detectives are investigating a double shooting in North St. Louis. 2 men were shot on Hiller Place in the Walnut Park West neighborhood this afternoon. Both were taken to the hospital.
In North St. Louis, Walnut Park West stands out as one of the city's most violent neighborhoods. Predominantly black and long neglected, the community has endured decades of poverty, disinvestment, and entrenched crime. By August 2025, the St. Louis Metropolitan Police reported 7 deletions in Walnut Park West, the highest total of any neighborhood in a city that had only recorded 89 deletions overall at that point in the year. With a poverty rate well above 30%, the neighborhood shows the scars of redlining and segregation that shaped its housing stock throughout the 20th century. Bordering a major freeway, much of the community has been cut off from economic opportunity, leaving drug trafficking and gang activity to take root. Community leaders describe Walnut Park West as one of North St. Louis's most persistent crime hotspots, where shootings and drive-by gunfire are a grim part of daily life. For residents, survival often means navigating the violence that defines their streets.
ATF after 21 people are indicted for being part of Cherry Hill's Hillside Enterprise, a drug distribution operation which operated for more than 14 years. According to the indictment, back in early 2002, the Hillside Enterprise distributed mostly here in the Cherry Hill Town Center shopping area, as well as other parts of West and Southwest Baltimore. The indictment goes on to say they used various homes in Cherry Hill to cut and package the drugs, then bought guns with the money, guns routinely used in violent acts, including 13 retaliatory and shootings of a 13-year-old and 9-year-old.
Well, new tonight, city police say an 11-year-old boy is hospitalized after being shot earlier tonight. They say just before 6 o'clock, officers were called to the intersection of Round Road and Siegel Avenue for a report of a shooting. When officers arrived, they found a 34-year-old woman with a gunshot wound to her upper body. And the 11-year-old boy, both were taken to the hospital. It was determined later that the boy had been shot at least once. Investigators believe both victims were outside when a suspect shot them.
New at 6:30, Baltimore police investigate after a man is shot and killed on the city's south side. Happened on Coppin Court around
of Cherry Hill Road. All the victims have non-life-threatening injuries.
In southwest Baltimore, Cherry Hill is an isolated public housing community long burdened by poverty and violence. Predominantly black and cut off from the rest of the city by highways and industrial land, the neighborhood has struggled since its creation as World War II-era housing. Lacking reliable public transit and economic opportunity, Cherry Hill's isolation has only deepened its hardship. According to Area Vibes, violent crime in Cherry Hill is nearly 700% above the national average, ranking it among the most dangerous neighborhoods in Maryland. Shootings, robberies, and deletions are a constant reality, cementing its reputation as one of Baltimore's deletion capitals, alongside parts of West Baltimore. Despite its suburban location, Cherry Hill remains a stark example of how segregation, disinvestment, and physical isolation have fueled a cycle of violence and despair, leaving residents to face some of the highest crime rates in the state. Poverty affects more than a quarter of residents, and many homes still lack basic necessities like plumbing or reliable heating.
You can see a man in a red shirt standing by a red Honda at the EZ shop on Frayser Boulevard. He's talking to another man in a navy blue hoodie. Then you see a man in a white shirt runs up with a gun. Seconds later, 3 men point a gun at the victim's head, while a 4th man searches the victim's pockets. The victim tried to defend himself, but moments later you can see the man in the white shirt tried to fire his weapon. That's when all 4 suspects rush into the white Ford sedan with a partial Tennessee tag of BRT. Now watch. A MPD squad car is seen in the top left corner, witnessing the incident and immediately trying to get the white Ford to stop. Officers say next, 2 of the guys jumped out of the car and ran into a neighborhood about 1.5 miles away from the gas station. Police ran after them. Memphis police are still investigating, but say one officer fired a shot at one of the 2 suspects.
Memphis rapper C-Money from the Fast Cash Boys duo was shot and killed.
An open investigation in Frayser as police search for the car seen here pulling up to a house off McCully Drive and McCully Cove before opening fire. I've learned through GoFundMe that rapper C Money is the victim. He was described in the GoFundMe as having a strong passion for his music and his children. And while it's unclear why C Money died, Sharita has heard rumors of a rap beef between C Money and his.
From what I hear, this has been going on since Friday. That they've been back and forth shooting at each other.
In life, there are consequences for actions. We haven't learned the concept of that. A man got an unexpected lesson Friday night when he arrived at a home along Holbrook Street in Frayser. While investigators have not said why he stopped there, neighbors say it was possibly an attempted robbery, which ended with him being shot to death inside of a Kia with burglary tools found nearby, according to police.
News in Frayser tonight, where police say a man was shot at Overton Crossing and Frayser Boulevard. The victim was taken to the hospital where he died.
Following a shooting in Frayser, police are now looking for the person who pulled the trigger. Memphis police responding to that scene along Frayser Boulevard just after 12:30 this afternoon, where they found a man there dead with a gunshot wound.
Historically, Shelby Forest began as a patchwork of refugee camps and trailer parks. Today, the community is scarred by gang conflicts and near-constant gunfire, a grim backdrop that has come to define life in the neighborhood. For Memphis, few areas rival Shelby Forest Frayser in violence, making it a stark symbol of poverty, crime, and neglect in the Mid-South.
NYPD just released video of two men wanted for shooting two people in Brooklyn. Video shows a man in a white T-shirt pacing near the Brownsville houses on Stone Avenue on July 3rd. He then hands what appears to be a gun to a man in a black sweatshirt. Police say that man fired several shots at a group inside a park at the houses. A man and woman, both 19, were shot.
This morning in Brooklyn, police are investigating the deadly shooting of a 34-year-old in Brownsville. Just before 3 this morning, officers say they responded to calls that a man was shot near the intersection of Riverdale Avenue and Osborne Street. Investigators say that's when they found the victim with a gunshot wound to his right arm. He was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. No information about a possible suspect has been released, and the identity of the victim is being withheld pending family notification.
Right outside the school's campus here, this building actually houses multiple schools inside of it. Since students started arriving here this morning, there's been a police presence in the area. It's a continuation of the police presence seen yesterday after a 17-year-old was shot nearby, ran inside there during school hours. You can see NYPD units arriving and parked just outside the school here on Bergen Street.
In eastern Brooklyn, Brownsville has long been known as New York City's poorest neighborhood and one of its most violent. In the first half of 2024 alone, the community saw 29 shootings, 35 victims, and 13 deletions. By comparison, safer neighborhoods across the city often record only a handful of deletions in an entire year. Most of Brownsville's housing stock is made up of NYCHA public housing developments, where decades of unemployment, poverty, and the drug trade have fueled armed gangs and recurring bloodshed. Residents describe living in fear, with playgrounds and courtyards sometimes turning into shooting scenes. Gang rivalries, often fought block by block, continue to drive spikes in violence. And while NYPD statistics showed overall crime trending downward across New York City in 2024, Brownsville stood apart, remaining one of Brooklyn's most dangerous districts and a stark reminder of how poverty and gun violence intertwine.
That says 2 officers are in the hospital with minor injuries. The spokesperson says the officers were not struck by gunfire. He says they may have been struck by a vehicle. 2 offenders are in custody. 1 offender is injured and is at St. Bernard. Now, CFD said there are 3 locations connected to this incident. The locations are at 70th Street in Yale, and another scene at 75th Street ramp to the Dan Ryan Expressway, and of course here at 58th and Shields. Now, we told you this morning morning, COPA released that investigators are responding to an officer-involved shooting here at the 5800 block of South Shields.
Well, the woman's age is unclear right now. She was pronounced dead here at the University of Chicago. Police say that she was inside of a car with a 17-year-old boy and a 20-year-old man. Now, officers responded to the 7200 block of South Green around 2 a.m. 3 people were found struck by gunfire while traveling in a vehicle. The woman was the driver. She was shot in the back. The 17-year-old was shot in the elbow, also taken here to UFC in good condition. The 20-year-old was shot in the shoulder. He was taken to Christ Hospital in serious condition.
Adults, 2 men and a woman, all in their 20s and 30s, are now being treated here at University of Chicago Medical Center for serious injuries after police say all of them were shot multiple times in several different places on their bodies. Investigators say this happened at 65th and Troop inside Ogden Park just before 7 o'clock tonight, a time that would typically be very busy on a warm summer evening like this. The crime scene appeared to show bloodied clothes, abandoned hats and shoes, all laying in the center of the street.
Just west of Washington Park lies Englewood, a South Side neighborhood long associated with crime and decline. In the early 20th century, Englewood thrived as a working-class hub with bustling shopping corridors and steady factory jobs that drew thousands of families. But when industry collapsed and businesses closed, residents fled in large numbers, leaving poverty and abandonment in their wake. By 2022, the Chicago Police Department reported Englewood's overall crime rate at 125% above the city average. Gun violence and deletions remain constant threats, with Property Club bluntly labeling the neighborhood as plagued by high deletion rates and gun violence incidents. Boarded-up homes, empty lots, and crumbling 19th century buildings stand as stark reminders of decades of disinvestment. In 2023, the Illinois Policy Institute found Englewood led Chicago in aggravated batteries. Paired with failing schools, chronic joblessness, and deep poverty, these conditions have fueled a multi-generational cycle of violence. Today, Englewood is both a cautionary tale of urban decline and one of the city's most deeply troubled communities. America's most troubled neighborhoods remain trapped in cycles of violence rooted in deep poverty, social isolation, and decades of economic decline. Underfunded schools and strained policing have only reinforced these conditions, making violence both cyclical and intergenerational. Still, recent strategies offer cautious hope. In Baltimore, a focused deterrence program has shown striking results. 95.7% of participants avoided being re-victimized, and 97.7% did not reoffend. Chicago and Detroit have also seen progress by deploying community violence interrupters in their hardest-hit zip codes. The broader trend is clear. While many cities Chicago included recorded overall declines in shootings and deletions in 2023, violence remains heavily concentrated in just a handful of neighborhoods. Breaking this cycle will require more than policing reforms. It will demand sustained investment in struggling communities and long-term support programs so that residents no longer live under constant siege.